hinting the reason for God's creation was that God was basically lonely and needed a companion.
Mhm.
And I was going to companion. Now, this was the presentation or the metaphor, whatever you want to call it. This was what was presented. Now, on the Muslim side, the idea that was shared is that the hadith that كنت كنزا مخفيا فأحببت أن أعرف فخلقت الخلق لكي أعرف. I was a hidden treasure and I wanted to be known, so I created creation so that I may be known. The sister is asking about these two things, and I think she's asking how we disambiguate them, because there seems to be some kind of overlap between them. So how do we look at these things?
These are things which are very delicate, and if you are not careful, you may lose the balance. To say that God was alone and felt lonely, and then he created us so that we are, he's not alone, and we, somehow give him some comfort, some acquaintance, some ons, this is wrong. Because there are no emotions in him, and he never feels lonely. And also, the fact is that even after creating us, in a sense, he's alone. كان الله ولم يكن معه شيء والآن كما كان. Philosophers say that the meaning of there was God and nothing else, it doesn't mean that now there is God and other things. It's still كان الله ولم يكن معه شيء, because nothing is at his level. Nothing is at his level. You need, if you want not to feel lonely, you need someone with whom you can communicate, and someone who is at least at your level or higher than you, so that can understand you and help you. So there is no such a thing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if it's meant like hadith kanz makhfi, that Allah wanted to be known, not because he needed to be known or he needed to have people that know him, no, because there was benefit. This was a merciful act to create things that know him and benefit from this knowledge. Therefore he created. So the way it's explained is very important. It can be acceptable or it can be not acceptable based on how it is articulated.
Thank you, Sheikh.
You're welcome.
Some general questions. The first marriage in Islam was the Holy Prophet ﷺ's marriage to Sayyidah Khadija alayhi salam, and there Sayyidah Khadija proposed, as is being said in the question, to the Holy Prophet.
This was before Islam.
Sorry, that was before Islam. Yes. So how did Sayyidah Khadija alayhi salam go about the marriage process? Is it okay in Islam with women proposing to men? Would it be considered a sunnah of the Holy Prophet? Would it be advised for women to propose to a man in this day and age? The more in depth you can go, the better, inshallah, based on the question.
Islamically, there is no problem if a woman proposes marriage to a man. And Islamically, there is no requirement that man should propose marriage, not woman. But here the main thing is dignity and honor. Unfortunately, our culture is not very Islamic all the time. And here, not because of Islam, but anyway, historically, we have this culture, which is to some extent understandable, because maybe it was to keep the dignity of women, that they said, okay, men should go and propose. But then they made it too much that now if a woman, for example, proposes, it's unfortunately not understood well. And maybe, unfortunately, the same man that even may accept, then later may say, oh, you propose marriage to me, So these are cultural things that to some extent we have to unfortunately observe the customs and the way people are brought up, the people mindset has been formed. So we cannot expect pure Islamic teachings all the time be settling and saying the final words. We have also to, like for example, clothes, for example. Maybe some types of clothes are Islamically okay, but maybe this society, they are sensitive to this color, I don't know, or to this design, for example. So my understanding is that Islamically there is no problem, and I wish we had that level of understanding and maturity that family of women, family of men, both could propose marriage, and it was taken in a positive way, in a very respectful way. I wish we were in that position.
And one last question for today: can we recite the Surah Al-Fatiha for those who have passed away from non-Muslims?
You can try.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much.
I don't want to, give this definite answer to this, and I think this is a practical issue. We should ask our marja. But personally, I think, and my personal opinion has no value in this issue, because this is a fiqh issue, and you have to ask your marja. But I personally think that there is no problem. The main problem that we have is istighfar for mushrikeen, that we are certain that they oppose the truth, and we shouldn't ask for their forgiveness, and even if we ask, it's useless. But not any non-Muslim, to say salam to them, to pray for them, to ask for forgiveness for non-Muslims, to recite Fatiha for non-Muslim, as such is not a problem. Exceptions are there, but not every non-Muslim. This is my humble opinion.
Since this question was asked here live, we'll just take one last question.
Yeah.
Why is Prophet Ibrahim a.s. considered the father of all Abrahamic religions when there are other prophets before him? Prophet Nuh a.s. Didn't all of them teach the same message of a one God? Thank you.
Yeah, very good question. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam is the first meeting point for a Jewish, Christian and Muslim believers. The first meeting point. Yes, it is true that Prophet Nuh also is shared, but he is the first meeting point, and all our prophets, imams and prophets of Bani Israel, all are children of Ibrahim ala nabina wa alayhi salam. And the other thing is that Ibrahim alayhi salam, I don't want to underestimate Prophet Nuh, but Prophet Ibrahim is the one that the Quran says إذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمات فأتمهن قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما. This is on record for Ibrahim alayhi salam. This is, I'm not saying definitely others didn't have this, or Nuh didn't have this, but We don't know, or at least I don't know. It seems to me that Ibrahim alayhi salam had a special position. He passed all the tests, and Allah chose him as, appointed him as Imam for Nas, for all mankind. He is the champion of Tawheed. He passed all the tests that a true Muwahhid should pass. So he is very great person, very special person. But yes, Inna man shi'ati ila Ibrahim. He himself was a follower of Nuh. And this line continues. But the nearest point, the first meeting point, at least you can say it in this way, is Ibrahim ala nabiyyina wa alihi wa alayhi salam. And he was father of all. Some of the prophets, previous prophets, were not necessarily father. Maybe they were, uncle, cousin, something like this.
Thank you, Shaykhna.
You're welcome.
Inshallah, go ahead with the greetings. We'll start with Sister Arifa Suleiman from Dubai. Sister Arifa.